Welcome to Blue Card Prep Academy. Video 3. Legal descriptions and surveys. 3 methods, 3 exam questions, and if you can't tell them apart, you're leaving points on the table. Let's begin. Here's a question nobody asks until they're about to close on a house. How does anyone actually know what land you're buying? The brown house on Maple Street doesn't work in a legal document. Streets get renamed. Houses get painted. Neighborhoods change. So we needed a system, actually 3 of them, that describes land. So precisely, there's zero ambiguity about what's being transferred. That's what a legal description is. It's the language that makes real property legally identifiable. A legal description is a formal, written identification of a specific parcel of land. It's what goes in a deed. It's what gets recorded at the county courthouse. And it has to be precise enough that a surveyor, or a judge if it ever comes to that, can locate exactly that piece of land on Earth with no room for interpretation. A street address can't do that. A tax parcel number can't do that on its own. A legal description can. There are 3 methods used to legally describe real property in the United States. Metes and bounds, the lot and block system, also called the recorded plat system, and the rectangular government survey system. We're going to go through all 3. Each one works differently, each one gets tested, and they show up in different parts of the country. First up, metes and bounds. This is the oldest method, and once you understand how it works, it's actually pretty logical. Metes refers to distances and directions. Bounds refers to boundaries, often physical features or adjoining property lines. Together, the metes and bounds method describes a parcel by starting at a fixed reference point called the point of beginning, or POB, and then tracing the boundary of the property in a series of measured courses until you arrive back at that same starting point. Think of it as walking the edge of the property with a compass and a measuring tape, writing down every turn you make. A simple metes and bounds description might read something like, beginning at the iron pin at the northeast corner of the intersection of Oak Street and Elm Avenue. Thence north 45 degrees east 200 feet. Thence south 45 degrees east 150 feet. And it keeps going until it closes back at the point of beginning. Metes and bounds is the oldest system. It was the method used in the original 13 colonies and is still common in the eastern United States today. It's flexible, which is great for irregular parcels, but it's also dependent on physical monuments that can disappear over time, which creates problems. A tree used as a boundary marker in 1800 is probably gone. That's why the other systems were developed. On the exam, they test whether you know the terminology, metes, bounds, point of beginning, and what the system is used for. They'll also test that you know it traces back to the POB to close. A question might give you a description and ask which method it represents. If it starts with a point of beginning and uses compass directions and distances, it's metes and bounds. Now let's talk about the lot and block system, also called the recorded plat system. This one's going to feel familiar. When a developer takes a large piece of land and divides it into individual lots, think a neighborhood subdivision, they create a detailed map of that subdivision called a plat. The plat gets filed with the county and officially recorded. Once it's recorded, every individual lot has a legal description that simply references the plat. Lot number, block number, subdivision name, and the county and state where it's recorded. That's it. No compass directions, no distances. Just a reference to a map that already contains all of that information. So a lot and block description looks like Lot 14, Block 3, Oakwood Estates Subdivision, as recorded in Plat Book 22, page 47, county name, state. Short, clean, unambiguous. As long as you have the plat on file, you know exactly what land that is. This is the most common system used for residential property in developed areas, subdivisions, planned communities, urban lots. It's simple for buyers and title companies to work with because the hard surveying work was done when the plat was created. The plat is public record, anyone can look it up, and the legal description stays simple. For the exam, know that this system is tied to a recorded plat. The description refers to the plat, not to distances and directions. They'll test whether you know the components: lot number, block number, subdivision name, recording information. And they'll test that you know where this system is typically used: platted subdivisions and developed residential areas. Alright, 2 methods down. Let's check where you are before we move on to the third. 4 questions, take your time. Question 1. A legal description reads, beginning at the iron pin at the corner of 1st and Main, thence north 60 degrees east 300 feet. Which method is being used? The correct answer is B, meets and bounds. The giveaway is the point of beginning combined with compass directions and distances. That's the signature of meets and bounds. A, lot and block, and D. Recorded plat are the same system. It uses lot numbers and references a plat map, not directions. C, rectangular survey uses townships, ranges, and sections, none of which appear here. Question 2. A property's legal description reads, Lot 7, Block 2, Riverside Estates, as recorded in Plat Book 8, page 12. What system is this? The correct answer is A, lot and block. Lot number, block number, subdivision name, and a reference to a recorded plat. That's the lot and block system exactly. B, meets and bounds would have compass directions and a point of beginning. C, rectangular survey would reference townships and sections. D, monument survey isn't one of the 3 systems. It's a distractor. Question 3. Which legal description method is most commonly associated with the original 13 colonies and irregular parcels? The correct answer is D, meets and bounds. Meets and bounds is the oldest system and was used throughout the original colonies. It handles irregular shapes well because it just traces whatever boundary exists. C. The rectangular survey system came later, developed to handle land distribution in the Midwest and West. A and B, lot and block, is tied to platted subdivisions. It doesn't predate them. Question 4. A developer divides a large tract into individual home sites and files a detailed map with the county. What is that map called? The correct answer is A, plat. The map that subdivides a tract into individual lots gets filed with the county and becomes the basis for lot and block descriptions is called a plat. B. A deed transfers ownership. It doesn't divide land. C. A survey measures existing land. A plat creates the subdivision layout. D. A title abstract is a history of recorded ownership, not a map of parcels. Now for the biggest one, the rectangular government survey system. This one has the most moving parts, but it's also the most systematic. Once you understand the structure, it clicks. The rectangular survey system, sometimes called the Government Survey System or the U.S. Public Land Survey System, was developed after the Revolution to survey and distribute land in the territories west of the original colonies. The idea was to create a grid system that could be applied consistently across huge, unsettled areas where there were no existing landmarks or property lines to reference. It's the dominant system in the Midwest, South, and West. The whole grid hangs on 2 reference lines. The principal meridian runs north-south. The baseline runs east-west and crosses the principal meridian at a point of origin. Every parcel described under this system is located relative to its governing principal meridian and baseline. From those reference lines, the land is divided into a grid of squares. Moving east or west from the principal meridian creates columns called ranges. Moving north or south from the baseline creates rows called township tiers. Where a range column and a township tier intersect, you get a township. Each township is 6 miles by 6 miles, so 36 square miles total. Townships are identified by their position relative to the baseline and principal meridian. A township 2 rows north of the baseline is Township 2 North. A range 3 columns east of the meridian is Range 3 East. Combined, Township 2 North, Range 3 East, written T2N R3E. That locates the township on the grid. Each 6 by 6 township is divided into 36 smaller squares called sections. Each section is 1 mile by 1 mile, which is 640 acres. Sections are numbered 1 through 36 in a specific pattern, starting at the northeast corner of the township with Section 1, moving west across the top row to Section 6, then dropping down and moving east across the next row, and so on in a back and forth snake pattern. Once you're inside a section, you can carve it up further. The section is divided into halves and quarters. The northeast quarter of a section is the northeast quarter. A half of a quarter is a quarter. The math always works from the section's 640 acres. A quarter section is 160 acres. A half quarter is 80 acres. A quarter is 40 acres. They put this on the exam because acreage calculations come up in property math questions. A full description reads inside out, smallest to largest. So you might see the northwest quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 14, Township 2 North, Range 3 East of the principal meridian name. Read it left to right. Start in the northwest quarter of the southeast quarter of Section 14. In a township that's 2 rows north of the baseline, 3 columns east of the meridian. On the exam, they test the structure: principal meridian, baseline, township, range, section, and acreage calculations. If they give you a parcel description and ask how many acres, start with 640 for a full section and apply the fractions. They'll also test that sections are numbered 1 to 36, starting at the northeast, and that section 1 is always in the northeast corner of the township. Last piece, surveys. This connects everything we just covered. A survey is a formal measurement of a parcel of land conducted by a licensed surveyor. The surveyor physically locates the boundaries of the property, measures them, and produces a survey document, sometimes called a plat of survey or survey, map, that shows the dimensions, boundaries, and location of the land. This is different from a legal description, but the two are closely related. The legal description tells you what you're describing. The survey verifies it on the ground. In a real estate transaction, a survey is often ordered by the lender or required by title insurance companies before closing. Why? Because the survey reveals things a legal description can't catch on its own. Encroachments, where a neighbor's fence crosses the property line. Easements that affect usable space, or discrepancies between what the deed says and what's actually on the ground. A survey protects the buyer and the lender from boundary surprises. Make sure for the exam you know what a survey does. It measures and confirms the physical boundaries of a property. Know who does it: a licensed surveyor, not an agent or attorney. and know when it comes up in transactions, often connected to encroachments, easements, and lender requirements before closing. Final quiz. This one covers everything. 3 methods plus surveys, 7 questions. Let's see where you land. Question 1. Each section in the rectangular government survey system contains how many acres? The correct answer is C, 640 acres. A section is 1 mile by 1 mile, which equals 640 acres. That's the base number for all section math. Memorize it. A. 40 acres is a quarter section. B. 160 acres is a quarter section. D. 36 is the number of sections in a township, not the acreage of one. Question 2. In the rectangular survey system, what is a township? The correct answer is A. A 6-mile square divided into 36 sections. A township is 6 miles by 6 miles and contains 36 sections. B. Describes a section, not a township. C. Describes a range. That's the columns running north-south from the meridian. D. Describes the baseline. That's the east-west reference line. Range and baseline are easy to flip on the exam, so keep them straight. Question 3. In the rectangular survey system, where is Section 1 located within a township? The correct answer is D, northeast corner. Section 1 always starts in the northeast corner of the township. Numbering moves west along the top row to Section 6, then drops down and moves east, snaking back and forth to Section 36 in the southeast corner. The other corners are wrong. This is one of those specific facts they put on the exam precisely because it's easy to misremember. Question 4. A buyer purchases the northeast quarter of the northwest quarter of a section. How many acres is that parcel? The correct answer is B, 40 acres. Start with 640 acres for the full section. The northwest quarter is 1/4 of that, 160 acres. Then the northeast quarter of that quarter is 1/4 of 160, which is 40 acres. A. 160 is just the quarter section. C. 80 is a half quarter. D. 20 would be an eighth of a quarter, not what's described here. Question 5. A property's legal description uses compass directions, distances, and a point of beginning. A licensed professional physically measures the boundary and produces a map of those same dimensions. What did that professional conduct? The correct answer is A, a survey. A survey is when a licensed surveyor physically measures and maps the boundaries of a parcel. B. A title search examines records of ownership. It doesn't involve physical measurement. C. A plat is the map that creates a subdivision. It's produced before individual lots are sold, not after. D. An appraisal estimates value. It has nothing to do with boundary measurement. Question 6. Which of the following is a reason a lender might require a survey before closing? The correct answer is C, to detect encroachments or boundary discrepancies. Lenders require surveys because they want to know exactly what they're financing. If a neighbor's structure crosses the boundary, or if the actual lot is smaller than the deed suggests, that affects the collateral. A. Market value is the job of an appraisal. B. A plat map is created by a developer when subdividing land, not ordered by a lender at closing. D. Tax assessment is handled by the local assessor's office, not a survey. Question 7. A legal description reads, Lot 22, Block 5, Pinecrest Hills Subdivision, Plat Book 14, page 3, Cook County, Illinois. Which statement about this description is true? The correct answer, D. It identifies the property by its location in a recorded plat. Lot number, block number, subdivision name, plat book, and page reference. That's the lot and block system, which works entirely by referencing a recorded plat. A. Compass directions and boundary tracing are meets and bounds. B. Rectangular survey would have township, range, and section language. C. A point of beginning only appears in meets and bounds descriptions. That's the final quiz. Quick recap before you go. We went over 3 methods. Meets and bounds, directions and distances from a point of beginning. Lot and block, references a recorded plat, used in subdivisions. Rectangular survey, principal meridians, baselines, townships, sections, and acreage math. And surveys, the physical measurement that puts it all on the ground. If this helped, like and subscribe. Every video in this series is free. The rest of the core concepts videos are in the playlist below. Make sure legal descriptions are solid before you move on. They show up in property transfer questions too, and you don't want to lose those points.